So we've seen AI become more and more prominent since the introduction of chatbots like ChatGPT, but the truth of the matter is, I personally think that Gemini will win. It's almost a dead cert at this point in my mind. Don't believe me? Well, I think I can sense some of you sharpening those pitchforks, but I want to give you some solid reasons and why I think this is the case. So yeah, let's get into it. If you want more content and commentary on all things Google from Android to Gemini and everything in between, then hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out and it helps you out with some good content as well. Cheers. So the landscape of AI development has been insane over the past 3 to 4 years alone. We've gone from effectively janky image generation to almost lifelike video clips being possible in practically no time, or what feels like no time. The speed at which things change or make leaps has been nothing short of astronomical in that time period. Personally, I'm an AI skeptic. I'm sure many of you out there as well, and I feel like this is a tool that you're going to use a bit like the pen tool in Photoshop, for instance, maybe a simple editing or proofreading, even reframing tool that you can use for your writing or your documents. Maybe image generation can be used for fun purposes, such as meme creation in Pixel Studio on your Pixel phones, for instance. I'm a little bit disgusted with the idea that AI could, and let's be real for a second, replace people like artists and musicians, but at the same time, I think if it's used correctly as a tool, like I mentioned, it can be a way to aid those creative endeavours. There will always be nefarious actors and people looking to use AI as a shortcut to do things that take time to build, skills to learn, and all of those things in between. Let me quickly get off my soapbox for a moment. I think the point really does still stand. If we have a huge integration of AI in all aspects of our lives, we will all need to be more aware of the risks and the benefits. Let's get back to Gemini for a second, and while most people probably know ChatGPT or are more aware of OpenAI's platform simply by name, the company is really yet to make a profit and can't match one of the biggest weapons in Google and Gemini's arsenal, the potential user base. There are lots of supposed studies stating that OpenAI's site gets millions more visits than the Gemini site each month, but that fails to see or fails to actually analyse how Gemini is already starting to gain integrations in the world's most used apps and services. And I think this is probably the strongest argument in favour of Gemini as the dominant, public AI platform. At least in theory, you don't need to do anything if you already have or use Google products. Gemini will do things like replace the Google Assistant, and in apps and services like Gmail, Photo, Maps, and the massive suite of Google apps, they're all gaining or utilising functions that are powered by Gemini. Some of these integrations are simple search or summary tools, but OpenAI really can't reach that same install base without the partnerships with companies out there like Microsoft, Apple, and the like. And they're building them right now, as I mentioned, with these companies and more on top of that to try and counteract this. Nobody in the industry can match that potential level of reach that Google has without an extensive push to get people to adopt their platforms. A push to get over 1 billion people using your products would really cost an exorbitant amount, and Google has that reach right now actually to the multiple billions with effectively zero net spend with this new product. Android as well, on top of that, is the world's most popular mobile platform, and with Gemini set to become the default voice assistant within the next year or so, that's a huge number of people that are going to be exposed to the service from the get-go. There is very little difference to the normie between the free tier and the AI premium plan that Google has been pushing over the past couple of years. They've been pretty good at rolling out functions to basic accounts or free accounts, with model updates being sizable enough to notice improvements in response, reasoning, plus the quality of information you'll get with queries and questions if you just use it like a regular chatbot. Keeping functions behind a paywall really isn't going to be a viable long-term strategy or solution in this instance, because limiting the usability might be fine for the most basic use cases, but are people really out there going to pay upwards of $20 a month to do more than a few complex tasks? I'd wager no, and I personally wouldn't do that myself. ChatGPT can only offer access to its AI platform as well. Google has the backing of cloud storage, email services, photo storage, and potential video and music with the YouTube platform, and that's the tip of the iceberg. Google's in so many places all simultaneously. There is a possibility that the company could bundle all of this into a one flat fee monthly payment, and it could, in theory at least, be no more than $25 a month. As I noted, OpenAI only really has ChatGPT as their core product, so simply can't compete on all of those fronts in the same way. The company also requires you to go out of your way to even use the chatbot function. It can never be as ubiquitous for that reason, despite the fact that ChatGPT is almost synonymous with AI to most people in the general public. Just going back to Android for a second, because I think this is a really important part of why Gemini is going to be so ubiquitous over the next few years. Because Gemini is effectively decoupled from the OS, you don't actually need specific updates to get these latest functions. All Google has to do is flip the switch and billions of people are on the latest model or get access to those newest work behind the scenes developments that they've been processing and doing for a long period of time. It's hands off from the end user perspective, but it also means that you get basically all of the best features when it comes to these new developments. So this is especially important when you consider the speed at which new Gemini models and just general AI models have been pushed out. From the early days of Bard, then to Gemini, the quality and consistency of the things you can do has really improved, although it's not perfect per se. It's more than just a parlor trick masquerading as a helpful tool now. Gemini can do lots of things that a couple of years ago just weren't possible. One of the biggest potential strengths of Gemini though, and I think this is another reason why Android is so important, is visual search. Circle to search, if you remember that, and if you have that on your phone, was one of the early versions of this. I really find this useful. If you haven't already done this, definitely give circle to search a try. But I do think the introduction of the Astra-powered visual search is one of the first major steps to give us that world-facing camera that can provide and reason with information that we give it via a visual medium. It's still currently rolling out for advanced plan subscribers, so if you have a Pixel 9 Pro, you should have had this for 12 months for free. But the idea here is that you can actually allow Gemini to access the camera or even your screen context and then get real-time feedback on the go with your questions also tacked on as well. It's Gemini Live, but with that visual element baked in and capable of giving you responses based on your camera or that screen content. OpenAI does have its own vision capabilities with GPT-4o, but it's not integrated or has no integration with any services at this moment in time. Maybe it will in future, but Gemini in tandem with Astra can at least in theory do much more right now, and as an accessibility tool alone, it could be one of the best we potentially ever see. That said, we haven't had the opportunity to fully try this out for ourselves and really test that. There are other platforms out there. You may have heard of these, DeepSeek and Claude, for instance. They're making strides in specific areas. And in terms of like coding, Claude is really good. It's gaining traction with a strong emphasis on that conversational AI and safety. They do lack that broad ecosystem and integration potential of Gemini, although ChatGPT maybe does have the edge there in terms of partnering with these companies. Gemini's ability, though, to seamlessly integrate with Google's ecosystem, as I noted slightly earlier, from maps to photos, could create that user experience that competing platforms just will never be able to match ever, basically. This level of integration, coupled with the rapid pace of Gemini's development, which has come on a long way in the last couple of years, definitely positions Google to dominate the AI landscape in the long term, and the company, well, let's be honest, they have the cash to burn and the runway to effectively bleed the competition dry. I'm not advocating for a one-player space or at least one player to dominate the AI space, but it looks like that could be the playbook, at least from afar. Ultimately though, while other players are focusing on their niche strengths, Gemini's ability to be ubiquitous and actually all-reaching, and that deep integration with the tools we use on a daily basis, at least by the billions, will likely be a determining factor in its success. AI bros out there, you've watched this and will no doubt disagree, and I implore you to actually. I think competition and having other options keeps competitors sharp, and I think it's one of the best things about the tech space and something I hope to see happen in future. But if I'm being completely honest, I genuinely think that Gemini will be the biggest platform that is in the AI space in years to come, especially as it has things to lean back on that nobody else really does. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you disagree with me? I think it's a really interesting time as we kind of move away from traditional software paradigms and see AI, which is a really broad term and something that is hard to almost quantify. It'll start to play a bigger role in our devices, our software, our services, and potentially way more on top of that. It's almost like you can't escape it, which rightly or wrongly is just the way it is right now. Cheers for watching though, and I will speak to you later.